All right, here we are. We are live. Welcome, everybody, to another Kris Amerikos show. And in today's show, we're going to be answering your questions. You can write your questions in the comments in the chat under this video. And you can ask questions about what's important to you. Now, I am going to try to answer the questions that you ask to the best of my ability. And maybe I'll be using this board behind us, maybe not. But for anyone who's just watching for the first time, let me remind you what this is. This is something that I call the Kris Amerikos show. Every day, I go live, sometimes for 5 minutes, sometimes for an hour or more. And so I do these live calls so that I can answer your questions. You can write any questions. It's better if the questions are about English. And I will try to answer them for you. So yesterday we went live on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, and the link should be in the description to this video if you open it up. So if you're interested in that, you can get that link. But so we did Facebook yesterday, and the day before that we did Instagram. And so we just keep going back and forth between the different platforms, different pages. And so today our live call, of course, is here on YouTube. And tomorrow's live call is going to be on Instagram. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send the link right now in the chat here to the Instagram page, and anybody who wants to join the live call tomorrow can go over there and join that live call. Okay? All right, so I see a question has come in here in the chat. Toto says, how I will be good in the conversation, how to be a native speaker. Let's see, Fernando says, hi, teacher. Hi, Fernando. Asma said, hello, hello, hello. Yes, hello, everybody. So Toto says, how can I be good at conversation and how can I be a native speaker? So I have a special program for that. It's called English Hacks. It's on my website, krisamerikos.com. But I can tell you something quickly. And okay, I see Anas is asking for the Facebook link. One moment. And here it is. So to sound like a native speaker, you need to, first of all, understand what kind of native speaker you want to sound like, because there are lots of different native speakers in the world, right? There's native speakers who are from Australia. There's native speakers who are from Ireland. And both of those places are going to speak English a lot differently than I do. The accent will be different. The sounds that they make are different from the ones that I make when I speak English. But I can understand most of what they say. I mean, of course, each place also has its own slang and so some other things that they might do, some special words they might use. And so what you really want to do if you want to practice or you want to have a better accent, you want to speak like a native speaker, you need to decide which native speaker you want to sound like. Okay, I see Toto says, I will native speaker in British accent. Okay. So you want to focus on that, right? So when you're watching TV shows, you know which TV shows to watch, only British English ones. When you look for a speaking partner, you know that you're looking for a British English speaking partner, right? So now you can focus your studies on that. And so by understanding exactly what you're going to be trying to do, you're going to be trying to I see more questions coming in here, and I'll get to them in 1 second. Instead of just learning English altogether, you're trying to learn a specific type of English, right? That'll make it easier for you. Great question, Toto. Thank you. Okay, I see Rocco says, what's the difference between bath okay, there's a mistake there. It should be to bathe. I'm going to write it on the board here for you. Just write this word on the board. So yeah, it should be to bathe. Rocco. This is that verb, to bathe. To have a bath and to take a bath, those ones are correct. So the difference between them is, I mean, there's really no difference. It's just the words are different, right? But the meaning is the same. We don't really use the verb to bathe very often. So to have a bath or to take a bath, this is more common, and people use this more often. Great. Okay, let's see. Asma says, how many times we can learn per day to be fluent in English? Okay. So Asma, it sounds like you need to join my free seminar. I'll send a link right now in the chat here. My free seminar about how to learn how to speak better English in 1 month. I'm going to send the link. Here it is. So this is my free seminar about how to speak better English. It's the best place to start. Like, if you haven't done that seminar yet, then definitely do it, because it's my best work. All the best stuff is in there, and lots of answers to your questions are there already. But to give you a quick, fast answer right now, Asma said, how many times per day do we need to learn English to be fluent in English, right? Like this. The answer is there's no magic number. You just should use English and practice English as much as possible. So the more, the better. And, if you say, oh, well, I can't do it anymore. Yes, there's always a way to have more and more and more. So, if it's looking for a job where you use it, or living in a place where you use it. But any kind of exposure, any kind of work with English is going to help you. Okay. Fernando says, I have difficulty to put the words in the correct way in a sentence in English. Okay, yeah, sentence structure. It's difficult. It is difficult sometimes. But let's think of it like this. This is the basic sentence structure that I'm going to show you. We have something called the subject. Then we have the verb. Then we have an object. Subject, verb, object. This is the usual structure of a sentence in English. So that means, for example, I see you. I see you, and you see me. The subject is the person or place or thing or idea that the person that does the action, the person who does the action, right? And then the verb is the action. And then we have the object. The object gets the action, receives the action. So the subject does something and the object receives this. And so we say, I see you, and you see me, right? So this is the basic sentence structure of English. Now, it gets a little more difficult because we also can have some other things. Like we could have an indirect object. We could have an indirect object, and then this object will be called the direct object. Right? We could have this. Or maybe we could have some like other information after this, like the time or the place that something should happen. So that's going to happen after the objects. Right? So now it's getting more difficult to understand and more complicated. But basically, subject, verb, and then where does that action go? Does it go directly to something like I see you? Or does it go to a different thing first? Like I gave for example, I gave him the marker. I gave him the marker, right? This is more complicated. And then we could say, I gave him the marker yesterday at his house. Okay, so that's just a little bit about sentence structure. Of course, we can't really practice it right in this format, right? Because I can't see you or hear you. So, but if you come over to our everyday English lessons, we have 8 lessons every day. 8 lessons every day where we speak face to face like this, but I can see you and I can hear you. And so if you come over to there, it's the best program that I have. I mean, you can just speak all day if you want. And we have teachers who are native speakers and who are professional. So, I really think that it's a great program. Lots of students from around the world have joined. So here's the link. I wrote the link wrong. Here's the link. There you go. Okay. I see a lot of questions have come in. I'm going to try to answer some more questions now. Okay. Hello, I'm learning another language academically, and my level in English is not bad. Your opinion studying English more will affect my study in the other language. So whatever you put your time into, whatever you study more is what you're going to learn more, and you're going to be more effective at that, right? So yes, if you don't focus on one thing, then that thing will get worse. And you can't focus on that while you're focusing on something else that is exactly this. That's the same type, right? It's also a language. So if you're trying to learn Spanish and then you decide to study English too, it doesn't mean that English is going to stop you from learning Spanish. It just means that you're spending your time learning English and not spending your time learning Spanish. So you're spending less time there. That's all it means. But yes, it's true that happens. Okay. Odyssey says, I've been learning English for a long time, but every time I discover new challenges, I'm confused. I don't know what to do. I think I'll give up. Why? It sounds like you've come so far, and it sounds like you understand already, Odyssey, that those challenges and things that you get confused about and things that you don't understand or don't know, that those are helping you push yourself to the next level, right? So when you find something and you don't know it, instead of being frustrated about it, you already know. I mean, I'm sure you already do this. Instead of being frustrated about something that you don't understand or don't know, you say, great, I found something that I don't know, and now I get to learn something new. It's an opportunity for me to learn something new, and I'm happy that I get to learn something new, right? It's going to help me. It's great that I found something that I don't know. Because if I always just do things that I know, then I'm just going to stay where I am and never grow more, right? So I don't think you're going to give up. I think you wrote this comment because you know that I love challenges and you wanted to see what I would say about it. Okay. Could you tell us about passive tense? Anas says. Yeah, I can. So, and before I do that though, Anas and everybody who's watching, there are some topics like passive tense and other things where it takes a long time to explain it. So in a short lesson like this, it's not a lesson, it's just an open call, right? In a short period of time like this, it's hard to really explain everything about it so that you really understand, right? You need more than what I can give you right now, but I can give you the basics right now. So passive voice. We typically use passive voice for 3 different reasons. One is that we don't know who or what the subject is of the sentence, the subject of the sentence. So this comes back to when we were talking about sentence structure, right? We had subject, verb, object, and so a lot of that information is important here in passive voice too, because what we're doing is moving the subject to the end of the sentence, and it's a different sentence structure. So, for example, I said the first reason that we use passive voice is if we don't know who or what the subject is. Like if we said, the bank was robbed. The bank was robbed. Hey, I've got a question for you guys. Can you read what's on the board, or is it all backwards? Great, great, great. So just let me know. Write a comment in the chat if you can read it, if it's okay, if you can read it, or if it's, if I need to flip the screen or something. Can read, thank you. Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Okay, so yeah, the bank was robbed, right? This is past tense. This is past simple because the verb to be, which is the helping verb, right? Let's go ahead and write those things here too, so that we can see everything. So to be, this is a helping verb. Right? So to be helps us create passive voice, because passive voice is just to be plus the past participle. To be plus the past participle. What is past participle? Past participle is the third form of the verb. Like see now, saw in the past, and seen is the third form, is the past participle. So to be plus past participle, this is how we make passive voice. And in this construction, to be is a helping verb. It helps us create passive voice. So the bank was robbed was, the verb to be, is in past simple. So this is past simple verb tense in the passive voice. Robbed is the past participle of the verb to rob, right? The verb to rob, which means to steal something, to take something. The bank was robbed. So why do we use passive voice? Reason number one is that we don't know who the subject is, right? So who robbed the bank? Who robbed the bank? Active voice. This is active voice, right? Who robbed the bank? And this is also our standard sentence structure that we talked about today. Who robbed the bank? Who, subject, robbed, verb, the bank, object. And here, the bank was robbed. The bank is the object, right? And it's at the beginning of the sentence. When we use passive voice, we usually put the object at the beginning of the sentence. And then we have the verb, object and verb. And then if we want to say who did this, who the subject is, then we can add that after. So the first reason that we use passive voice is we don't know who or what the subject is. The second reason that we use passive voice is that in this situation or in this context, the subject is not important, right? We don't need to talk about the subject in this situation. For example, I was born in 1986. I was born in 1986. So, again, here we have was. This is the helping verb. It helps us to create passive voice, and it's past simple, right? Past simple tense, passive voice of the verb to bear. So this is a special verb. We don't need to talk about that verb. I was born. I'm sure you know this phrase. I was born in, and you say the year that you were born. Or I was born in, and you say the place. So in this example, the subject is my mother, right? And everyone understands that it's my mother, that I was born by my mother. But we don't need to say this every time that we speak about us being born. You know, we don't need to mention it every time. So it's not important in this context. It's not important when we're speaking about it right now. So that's the second reason that we might use passive voice. And the third reason that we might use passive voice is to put more importance, to make the object more important. So to push the focus of our sentence onto the object, right? So here the focus is on I was born. It's not on what my mother did. It's on me. The bank was robbed. It's about what happened to the bank. It's not, this information is not about the person who did it because we don't know who that is. So another example is, okay, this example, the Mona Lisa was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. This is also passive voice. And again, it's past simple. We have this helping verb was, and then painted is the past participle, right? So which verb is this? What is the real verb? What is the main verb of the sentence? It's to paint. Paint, or to paint, is the verb of the sentence, the main verb. It's past simple because to be, the helping verb, to be, is in the past simple, right? Was. And then we changed the main verb, to paint, to the past participle, painted. So was painted. And this is the past simple form of the verb to paint in passive voice. Now, if we want to say who did this thing, we can just use the word by. By will tell us who the subject is. So if we need to say who the subject is, then we can say that, right? Like we could say the bank was robbed by someone. The bank was robbed by a criminal. Sometimes they say that on the news. They say the bank was robbed by an armed man. Armed. It means with a gun. The bank was robbed by a group of people, right? So sometimes they say that. Maybe I was born in 1986. Like we said, we could say by my mother. We don't usually say this, but you could. And then the Mona Lisa was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. All right. So let me come back to the comments here and see. Okay, Asma says, thanks. Thanks. I understood. I understand everything. Okay, great. I mean, there's 3 types from the passive voice. Yeah, it's just 3 reasons that we might use it. 3 reasons. Now, you probably want to practice changing active voice to passive voice. It's kind of difficult. So it's something that you'll want to practice to really understand. All right, let's find another question here in the chat. Have you ever been to Azerbaijan? I haven't, but I really want to go. I want to go to Baku, and I want to maybe go to some other places too in Azerbaijan. Lots of people have been writing me and asking me to go there. If you have any offers, I'll come. I will go anywhere in the world if there's an event or an activity that I need to do there. So if you have any offer, you can just send it to our support team. Just go to the website, contact support, and say that you have an offer, and you can send us your offer, and we'll consider it. Okay, Asma says, what time is the next seminar, or what time will the next seminar start? Well, the next seminar, if you mean these live calls like today, the next one is tomorrow. But I don't know what time. I don't make any promises about time. I'm just saying that I'm going to do one of these live calls every day. Tomorrow it's going to be on Instagram. The day after that on Facebook probably. And the next free seminar, you can just go to the page. I'll send the link again right now. So if you wanted to join my free seminar, it's probably the free seminar and Everyday English are probably my best work. And I'm really proud of that. So here's the link to the free seminar. And here's the link to Everyday English. And both of those things, the seminar is free, of course. Everyday English is not. Everyday English is speaking practice every day. There's 8 lessons. So, and the free seminar is really, really good. It'll help you structure how you study English and help you learn English better. Help you to study the whole process of studying English. It will improve that for you. Anas says, in your opinion, which tense do you think is the most difficult one in English? So it depends, because when something is difficult in English for you, it's because of your first language usually. Just because this thing is not similar to your language. So, when there's something that's very similar, like just learning some words and some new sounds and things like that, it's okay. But then sometimes there are phrases or grammar constructions that are really difficult to remember because maybe you don't think about it a lot and you haven't practiced it a lot, right? So, yeah. Okay, another question. So Anas, to answer your question, I think that most people that I meet, most of my students, have trouble with present perfect. But present perfect is one that you need to know and you need to use. Other things like future perfect continuous, like you don't have to use that very often or ever, maybe. So it's not so important to learn it. It's difficult, sure, but when are you going to use it? I don't know. All right. Okay, great, guys. Well, I am going to finish this live call now. Thank you so much for coming on to the live call. It was really fun. I think we got some interesting stuff today that we talked about. So I have 2 things to tell you. If you would like to practice speaking, like face-to-face with me, then come over to our English program called Everyday English. And I've sent the link already a couple times here in the chat. I'll send it one more time right now. Come over, join Everyday English. Try it for a month. If you don't like it, you can stop, but just try it for 1 month. And I think that you're going to really like it because so many people have, and they've told me great things. They've got great results. Now, if it's too expensive, because right now it's $49.99, $49.99, about $50 per month to join Everyday English. But you get 8 lessons every day. I mean, you can study as much as you want and practice speaking as much as you want. But if that's too expensive, then you can always do my free seminar. And I'll send that link here right now too. Or right now, I'm still doing a special deal for people who want to join my program called English Club. Right now, it's only $1 per month to join English Club, and there's a new lesson every day. So that one is also, that's an option too. But if you can join Everyday English, that one has live speaking lessons 8 times every day. So that's my best program. But I have another program if you want to just try things out. It's called English Club. So I'm going to send that link here too. All right. Zenny says, today we had a lesson in Everyday English about passive voice. If you join the program, you can watch the recorded lesson and also to practice it in conversations. Yes, exactly. That's why Everyday English is great. Not only are there 8 lessons every day, but then there's also every lesson is recorded so you can watch it. There's a lot of lessons there. All right, guys, I have to go. Thank you so much for joining the live call today, and I will see everybody tomorrow on Instagram. Have a great day. Bye-bye.